I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Give me a call at 713-526-5738. That is 713-526-KPFT. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Roxy is not with me today. Let me tell you a quick little story, folks. Roxy told me last week that she had a little vacation day coming, and I tried to find somebody to engineer for me, and for a while I couldn't find one, and Ernesto called me up and said, hey, I got somebody, and you know what? It's a young man named Anthony. Welcome back, Anthony. How you doing today, buddy?
Great. I haven't been here in quite some time, but it's great to be back.
Let me tell you something. You saved the day, so I appreciate you doing this stuff for me. What's going on?
Oh, yeah, no problem, man. It was my pleasure. I just hit up Ernesto, and, you know, if I got to float around until I find something permanent, it's all good.
Well, it's happening. Stuff's starting to happen here in Houston, so I'm sure stuff is going to happen for you, not only here, but in other places, buddy.
All right, well, thanks. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I believe in positive affirmations and include them with our politics today. Folks, you know what happened, right? Eric Cantor lost his election. Are we going back to war in Iraq, Oregon shootings, the media, you name it, we've got it. That's what's going on. But before I start, as usual, I forgot. This is KPFT, Houston 90.1, Galveston 89.5, Huntsville 89.7, Goodrich, Livingston 90.3. This is a call-in show, so please remember to give me a call. We have some great topics today, so give me a call at 713-526-5738. That number is 713-526-KPFT. Give us a call and let us talk politics, folks. Going back to where I was before. Eric Cantor, the loss that he suffered, how bad was it? Really bad. Iraq, are we going to war? I think there's a good chance that we're going to engage that somehow. The Oregon shooting. Where was the media on that? Did you guys notice? Look, today we will discuss Eric Cantor's loss and what it could mean for grassroots elections. What David Bart's victory really means to the grassroots. I want to talk about that. I want to hear what you guys have to say about that. So again, I hope you'll give me a call at 713-526-5738. I want to hear all points of views, all opinions. Please don't be concerned or scared or whatever to give us a call on these political issues, because you know what? This is your politics. We will further discuss the Oregon school shooting. Is this now the norm? Lastly, we will talk about Iraq. Should we re-engage and try to fix what we broke? After all, I think we are the ones who broke it, right? I mean, maybe Saddam Hussein wasn't a nice guy. Maybe Saddam Hussein was a dictator. Maybe Saddam Hussein was all these things. But you know what Saddam Hussein was able to do? He kept the Sunnis, the Shias, and the Kurds from killing each other. And this is going to sound terrible to a lot of people who simply talk democracy. We went in there and modified an order that we had previously modified since the Ottoman Empire. So, folks, should we really re-engage? Well, let's talk about that a little bit later. Now, I mean, we talk about the Eric Cantor victory, or loss that is. And I wrote a piece for Daily Kos yesterday that got quite a bit of attention. And the attention that it got kind of surprised me. It was quite interesting. So I'm going to read this blog post, and I want you guys to tell me what you think about it.
It's time for the weekly blog post.
I actually did this on my Coffee Party show and got some pushback as well. I'd like to see what kind of pushback I will be getting here from my KPFT folks, 713-526-5738. Here goes the blog. The title of the blog: Eric Cantor loss to David Bart can teach progressive activists and their candidates a lesson. Here it goes. Libertarian thinking Tea Party candidate David Bart beat the most powerful Republican in Congress, House Majority Leader Eric Cantor. It is the end of the world. It is a Tea Party takeover of the Republican Party. The legislative process will cease to go forward. To be clear, David Bart beating Eric Cantor will change absolutely what? Nothing. The Republican Congress is the least productive Congress in American history, and that is documented, folks. Replacing a majority leader who was instrumental in that unproductivity with a very junior congressman that will likely play a minor role in governing the caucus is at worst an even swap. The punditry and everyone else should stop hyperventilating about the David Bart victory. It means absolutely nothing to an already failed party. That said, there is a very large positive that grassroots progressives should be hyperventilating about. That a bit later. One of the big cause celebs of progressives and others is the corrosive effect of money in politics. Our Supreme Court has interpreted the Constitution in a manner that has codified that corporations are people, aka corporate personhood. How was that codified? There were several Supreme Court rulings. Trustees of Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad, and the Pembina Consolidated Silver Mine Company versus Pennsylvania. As corporations get to partake of our inalienable rights codified in the Bill of Rights. They get free speech and much more. Further, the Supreme Court codified that money is a form of speech. How did they do that? Buckley v. Valeo, Supreme Court case. It isn't hard to see how all this evolved into giving PACs and corporations virtually unlimited speech. Who gave them that? Another Supreme Court case. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission. It is then easy to understand, given the individual virtually unlimited speech. McCutcheon versus Federal Election Commission. So as you can see, we have a Supreme Court that sort of unraveled things up a bit. But let's get back to what we're really talking about here. There are a myriad of organizations collecting millions of dollars from the grassroots to fight this battle. It is a battle that must be fought. It is a battle that must be won. That said, it was with awe that one watched the returns on Tuesday night with David Bart's victory over Eric Cantor. Irrespective of the advantage given to corporate money, like what we mentioned up there with the Supreme Court cases that gave corporations that ability, guess what, folks? The underdog won. It may not have been your underdog. The man that spent less than Eric Cantor spent on serving steaks, the lobbyist, won. The man that no one took seriously won. The man that spoke to the hearts of his base won. The man who worked tirelessly won. The man that walked door to door to door to door won. CNN.com had a piece titled 7 Reasons Eric Cantor Lost. The article did not highlight the most important reason Eric Cantor lost as much as it should have. Eric Cantor was disconnected from his base. It is not only that he was at Starbucks fundraising on election day. It is that he seemed to be working for everyone except his own constituents. Most believe that unlimited money, advertising, and negative attacks can always mitigate these misdeeds, especially if one has a facade of being like you. David Bart disproved that. He fully disproved that. Firstly, his win was very inspiring. One can disagree with everything this libertarian bastion of inconsistent economic beliefs stands for and still respect his epic accomplishment. More importantly, one can learn from his method. Secondly, the Tea Party, though a minority, is successful because of message homogeneity and actions of a particular sect of their movement. Even if they don't win, they are feared because they might win. It is for this reason the Republican Party is now effectively the Tea Party, if not in name, in deeds. The progressive wing of the Democratic Party is more in line with the values of America. If one enumerates these values item by item, there is American support. What is lacking is connecting to Americans' hearts. What is lacking is the ability to meet Americans at their doorsteps instead of asking Americans to see why the progressive way supports their values and their economic interests. Henceforth, therefore, or whatever for, le blog. Well, folks, what else is there to say? What do you think about Eric Cantor's victory? Telephone number is 713-526-5738, 713-526 KPFT.
Well, I was just going to interlude for a second. The person who called in, he was asking if Eric Cantor was the majority whip leader or the majority leader, or House Majority Whip leader, or just the House Majority leader?
House Majority Leader.
House Majority Leader.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was. Have you been following this particular thing, or?
Yeah, I have a little bit. Yeah.
Is it crazy or what? Do you know that knockoff that really happened?
Well, I mean, it kind of solidifies that the Tea Party's here to stay. I mean, people kind of were shrugging them off as the not lack of a better term, the ugly cousin of the Republicans,
right? Because
the Republicans really didn't want them to win, but the Tea Party base is just it's undeniably strong,
right?
And this win proves it.
Absolutely. Let me tell you something, Anthony, and it's interesting because about 3 weeks ago I did another show where we were saying, it was written, I think, in a couple of states. I can't remember which one. The Tea Party candidates lost. And, the big news that the media came out with was, the Tea Party is over. The right. Republicans have, what do they call them? The Republican establishment has taken control back of the party. And I sat down and I was like, have these guys checked who the winners are in Texas? Which Republicans in Texas are actually, we have Abbott, we have Dan Patrick, the leader of the Tea Party just about in Austin.
Yeah.
Senator Patrick is going to be our, lieutenant, or is running to be our lieutenant governor. How is the Tea Party dead? I live in Kingwood. The Tea Party is so strong in Kingwood, they control absolutely everything in that part of town. So you wonder sometimes where these people come up with the ideas that they're coming up with, where these people believe or think that somehow this institution is dead. The Tea Party is alive. The Tea Party is here to stay. The Tea Party will only not be around when Americans at some point in time finally decide that they want to take their country back. You know, the Tea Party always says, oh, we want to take our country back. I always ask, from whom? Who took the country away from you? But I tell you what, with their policies, they have taken the country away. I think I have a caller that is in. You'll be on pretty shortly. I think the name is Mark. Mark, how you doing today, my friend? We're getting up to, there you go, Mark. How you doing, my friend? I can't hear you, Mark. We are having a tad bit of technical difficulties, but you'll be on in no time. Oops, we lost you. Okay, next caller. Who am I speaking to? Caller?
Yes, sir.
Talk to me. How can I help you? What would you like to talk? Give me your comments.
Yes, my name is Steve from Spring. What a lot of people realize is, remember when John Anderson ran for president, how they were talking about a third party, and I've talked to a lot of people over the years. They said if Ross Perot hadn't dropped out of the race, they would have voted for him for president, and that would have made a real difference in that race. I think, go ahead.
What was your name again, sir?
My name is Steve from Spring.
Steve, let me tell you something. Believe it or not, you're absolutely right. Ross Perot was an opportunity to shake up our politics. And it was a lost opportunity. And unfortunately, I don't know how much you remember about that race, but if you remember, Ross Perot he really started to take off. He was an independent, and the fire was lit under him. And it was almost like he got scared. Oh, my God, I might actually be president. I don't want to be president.
Right.
Didn't it seem that way to you?
It sure did. And what about the Tea Party? A lot of people dismiss them, but what they don't realize is, like I've been hearing about from the different talk shows, whether it be CNN or Fox News, what the problem is, the establishment, the Rockefeller Republicans, the John McCains, and the people that have been there for a long time, they've lost touch with the mainstream, with the independent voters and also the conservatives and the Tea Parties. They're trying to do everything they can because the Tea Party is a threat to the country club Republicans,
right?
The moderates, the milquetoast that don't really stand for anything. You don't know what they stand for because they're afraid to take a stand. It's like one day I stand for this, next day I stand for that. Right. And that's the reason why the Tea Party is so upset, because they stick to their guns.
Well, I tell you what, my friend, I don't know. There are several Tea Parties, as you might know. Believe it or not, there is a sect of the Tea Party that has a whole lot in common with progressives. Right. In other words, they want corporations to lose their personhood. They want an efficient government. They want people's rights respected. They don't want an overpowering government. Those are all progressive values, but they're also Tea Party values from the original Tea Parties. But what happened is, let me back up a second when I say Tea Party values. I mean the letter of the writings of many of old Tea Party tenets. Okay, now
like the Ron Paul stuff.
Exactly.
Paul's doing.
Now the difference between the others, now where they go awry with progressives is in their libertarianism.
Right.
That part of complete independence, that creates a problem because I don't know. I like roads and I like schools and I like public roads, public schools and all of that. I don't like the toll roads and all of that too much. But you get what I'm. But it is fair. It is fair to have a discussion on these issues. The type of Tea Party we have today, there's no discussion on that. And like I said in the blog post that I wrote, the Tea Party, or the Republican Party, has morphed, or what should I say? The Republican Party has morphed into the Tea Party. You know, I hate to say that, but that's the case. But stay hot with me, my friend. Stay with me because I'd like to come back to you. But at the same time, I just lost a call that I was going to go to. Anyhow, I think where we have to go from here is we have to first purge what we call Congress right now. Until we purge Congress from these people that think they own it, what has redistricting done to the and gerrymandering done to our politics? The reality is many more Democrats voted for politicians in the 2012 election, but that's not reflected in Congress because of the way the districts have been gerrymandered. So there are a lot of these issues we have to talk about. But stay with me a little bit longer. I want to probe you on some Tea Party stuff further. So I'm going to put you on hold and ask Ray to come in and say his piece. Ray, come on in. How can I help you, my friend?
Hey, how you doing?
Talk to me.
I was listening to you guys. Last night I was musing about a few things that I've been hearing about the conservatives lately.
Well, muse away, my friend. Muse away.
And one of them was a little saying, "Never mind the Walking Dead, fear the Tea Party."
You know something? You want me to tell you? I love that.
That sounds pretty scary to me.
I love that.
And here's another one. The other day I heard about the conservatives or Republicans or somebody offering gay reversal therapy.
Actually, believe it or not, I think that was written not explicitly but implicitly within the Texas platform for the Republican platform.
Yeah, I forgot exactly where the context was, but I'm willing to offer an idea for conservative reversal therapy.
Oh,
get a free lobotomy. Get a lobotomy.
That's not nice.
I got this little T-shirt that says, "I got a lobotomy." He's got this little character with his eyes crossed, and he's got stitches on his forehead.
You know what?
And it says, "I got a lobotomy. Now I'm a conservative."
Oh my God! I tell you something. You are going to, I'm doing this show on KPFT, but I also do it on Coffee Party Radio. I would have to cut that little piece out of Coffee Party when I talk about lobotomy of the guys. What are you doing to my show, my friend?
Hey, can you give me your email address? I'd like to
absolutely
share with you.
I would love you to share. It's Egberto. That's EGBERTO at politicsdoneright.com.
At politicsdoneright.
And go to the Facebook page. Go ahead and look up Politics Done Right. And it'll pop up. You can also communicate with me through there. You should have some fun through there. So let me ask you this. What do you think about, because we started out with the Cantor election. Did you follow that at all?
Yeah, I was listening to the PBS News where, what's the guy? The two pundits speak about that, but they didn't put too much weight into it. They just figure it is, it was just like a little cliche clique that just happened to get what they wanted there. So I don't worry too much about them.
I tell you something, okay? People need to be careful. Two things. There are two points, right? One is that a lot of Americans right now feel that their vote doesn't matter. They feel nobody listens to them, and those are the people who stay home. Now, there are those in the Tea Party who believe that they're the true Americans. I'm talking about the sect. I'm not talking about the original design of what many thought would have been the Tea Party. I'm talking about what the Tea Party really is. These are people who now believe they are the true Americans. They represent the true American values. They are the ones who determine how America is supposed to be. And those people are energized, and those people go out to vote. Mm-hmm. And if anybody doubts that, there's a Daily Kos piece today that spoke about the Tea Party and why did Cantor lose and how powerful the Tea Party is, and whether Democrats in Virginia were partially responsible for his win. This guy, I don't remember his name right off the bat. I think I have it on my pad here, but this guy actually said that the reason Cantor won was definitely not because of Democrats. Then he went ahead and did some analysis, and then he said, Democrats may have given him a larger percentage of the vote that could have taken him over taken him over that limit. I really don't care because if Cantor was involved, or the amount of money that Cantor spent, I don't know if you saw the amount per person that he spent. But he could have paid money, yeah. Right. He could have paid a taxi to go pick that person up and take that person to vote. So money could matter, but in this case, what really mattered more was passion. And that's why in the blog post that I read, I said that there are a lot of things. I don't know whether you're progressive or not. I'm going to assume that you're progressive. I'm going to also assume that Steve is progressive, but I'm going to get back to Steve in a little bit and
I'm
ask
a
him.
left-winger.
Yeah, okay. Good. The reason I asked that is, left-wingers are an interesting breed, right? You know a whole lot of stuff, and you then assume that everybody else know that stuff, so it's kind of superfluous for you to go ahead and spurt it out again. Now, the difference is these Tea Party guys and a lot of conservatives, my conservative friends, I'm not talking about you, okay? But a lot of conservatives, they really don't know, but they're very comfortable in their ignorance. Okay? Usually, a left-winger is very, very happy to second-guess themselves. You listen to them do it on air all the time. You listen to Rachel Maddow, she second-guesses herself. You listen to Chris. You listen to Chris Hayes. Chris Hayes is a bastion of self-examination. But have you ever heard Rush Limbaugh self-examine? I don't think so.
No.
I don't think you ever heard Rush Limbaugh self-examining or doing.
Well, they're getting paid to entertain and spew their illogical stuff out. But no questions asked. I mean, nobody asks them any question. When they ask them a question, they wouldn't answer anyway. So.
Absolutely. Hold on a second. Let me give a station break. This is KPFT FM, Houston 90.1, Galveston 89.5, Huntsville 89.7, Goodrich, Livingston 90.3. Folks, this is a call-in show. Please give us a call at 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Also 713-526, or also known as 713-526-KPFT. And if Roxy was here, Anthony, guess how Roxy says it? She says it, 713-JAM-KPFT. Anyhow, so now I'm going to sort of move off from
All right, thank you, man. I'll let you guys get back.
You have a great day, my friend.
All right, bye.
Ray, give me back to Ray. Ray.
Hello?
Are you still here, Ray?
No,
Or
this is
Steve. I got myself mixed up. Now, what do you have to say about that Tea Party? Last comment. Are you progressive, first of all, or moderate?
I'm a moderate on some issues and conservative on others, but I also I think for myself, and I try to look at both sides of the coin and then make a decision instead of just only looking at one side and then closing my mind.
You know what? That is how I think everybody should be. Right. I mean, I when you heard me do a slight disparagement of folks on the right, take that lightly, because like I said, I mean, I think there are a whole lot of folks that I have that are good friends, that are good conservatives. We just don't believe in, they believe in less government than I believe in. I believe in having a very strong government. I think having big, strong corporations require there to be a government strong enough to balance that. I don't think you can have an Exxon without a government and not expect the Exxon, because of the fiduciary responsibility of the shareholders, to trample over the average American citizen, don't you think?
I think so. And also what's really interesting is when you watch these different shows on CNN and Fox and everything else, we all have a filter on how, they're giving you their side of the story, and
right.
You take the information and then you make your own decisions, but you realize, we all have we all look at things in different ways, but we all try to at least give the other side a fair shake. The reason why I say that is because when I was in college, one of the most interesting professors I had was from the Middle East. He said, unfortunately, most people just look at one side of the issue and don't really take the time to look at the other. He says, you've got an obligation and a right as a citizen to look at both sides before you make your decision. And don't make a hasty decision based on just one side without knowing all the facts.
If we all live by that, it doesn't matter what your political persuasion is, right? Because ultimately you'll come to, I mean, look, there are certain things that are black and white, right? There are certain things that are simply wrong or right. But there are certain things that are neither wrong nor right. It's a matter of what's preferable. There's a lot
of gray out there.
Exactly. As an example, conservatives don't prefer let's say a for-profit health care system. Liberals prefer a public health system. Okay, now we got something that is somewhere in between. Do I like it? No. Do I accept it? Yes. Why do I accept it? Because, we met folks a certain distance. I want single-payer healthcare. Am I going to get single-payer healthcare in my lifetime? Likely not in the near term, maybe in the long term, when we reach to a point where we can somehow convince conservatives that, in effect, that it is that it's something that they can live with. But until then, what's wrong with compromise?
Exactly.
What is wrong with compromise?
You made a great point when you said about people feel they were really apathetic, but especially in the first election when Obama was elected, that energized people that were not that didn't feel like they were part of the political process, and that made them go out, and now they're active in the grassroots level, at the precinct level, and everything else. So actually, even that election got so many people involved in the process that previously felt like they were left out.
Absolutely. Look, you are so right, Steve. Steve, a friend, a director, and just a great lady just walked into the studio with me here, and I have a little surprise for her this goes for everybody. And, she called me up earlier today and she said, there's this song out there by this guy and there's this other song by, I'm like, why are you calling me now? I am going on air in a little bit. I can't get all this thing put together by then because, we want to do a little promo I'm going to let her say the promo, but we have a little promo we want to do to get folks to give their old stuff to the station so that this station can stay on air. So I'm going to ask my great friend Anthony here, the new engineer, to play this little quick 1-minute mashup that I did.
I got a roof over my head. What do I do? I got a tent over my head. What do I do? I got a roof over my head. What do I do now? I go out and tell somebody to get a roof over their head too.
Well, you didn't have to squeeze me, but you did. You did, oh you did. I thank you. You didn't have to hold me like you did, but you did and you did. I thank you. If you took your love somewhere else, I wouldn't know what it means to be loved to that. You made me feel like I've never felt. Well, guess it's so good. I've been crawling for help. You didn't have to squeeze me like you did, but you did.
Now, I couldn't leave that stuff going for the whole time. You see, Steve, she's in here trying to get some more of the music, but she's not going to get it. She's going to make a pitch here. What are we asking for and what are we thanking for?
Steve, you live in Spring. I live in Spring.
Oh, welcome. I was going to say, Dwayne Bradley, I guess you guys will have to have a meeting with him after the show.
Well, I was just in a meeting.
But Spring's a good place to live. We're a fairly bunch of people.
I'm so sorry. I was in this meeting, so I didn't really hear what you were talking about, but you're probably talking about politics in Spring.
It's politics done right.
But I tell you what.
Yeah, we were having a meeting of the minds on live radio.
Oh, I want to hear more. I really do want to hear more, but I want to make a little pitch, because I know in Spring we have cars in the driveway that we haven't gotten rid of. We got RVs in storage. We've got jet skis that, those toys we've outgrown, and four-wheelers and boats on trailers that we haven't taken out in years. And if you're one of those people that want to get rid of it, we have a vehicle donation program here. We will come like the next day and pick it up.
No kidding.
Yes.
Well, that sounds like a winning combination.
Yes, and I don't have my number handy. Where is that? Oh, here's the number.
Oh, she's going to read a number.
It's 855, and I think that's a toll-free number. 855 KPFT car, or 855-573-8227, and we would love to have you support community radio. If we can help you, get rid of these burdensome extra vehicles that you have. And we'll take motorcycles, trucks, cars, RVs, four-wheelers, jet skis.
Everything that has a motor.
Yeah, I guess so.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Well, like a winning combination.
So, folks, look, give us a call, 713-526-5738, 713-526-5738. You know, if we stopped speaking politics so that Teresa could come in here and talk about put in some help keeping the coffers fill enough to keep at least the transmitter running.
I was just thinking, I was hearing that, listening to that song. You didn't have to squeeze him, but you did. Yes,
that's why I put that part in there.
You know what? If you bring food to the radio station, you'll be surprised how many people will show up.
I know. But look here, folks, again, it's a call-in number, 713-526-5738. We're talking with Eric Cantor. We're talking Iraq, and we're talking something that we haven't touched yet, the shootings in in Oregon, at that high school in Oregon. You know, I want to say something here. This is where, Anthony, I want to play that little piece right now with the media. And listen to this, Teresa. This is interesting. We had Eric Cantor that lost. Yeah, that's a big loss. We also had a kid get killed yet again in his high school. Now, we've had killings in elementary school,
high school.
It happened as well. But just last week, the same day that Eric Cantor was running, and look at how it was played. Could you do that for me, please? Check this out.
Now, obviously, yesterday in Oregon, there was a terrible tragedy, another school shooting, a student dead and a teacher wounded.
Breaking tonight, a stunning development. You can see I'm speechless.
This is something a lot of people never saw coming.
It is a shock.
Numb from the shock.
I'm sorry, that was the media responding to an incumbent actually losing an election. This is how they reacted to another school shooting.
Another day, another school shooting.
Another day, another school shooting. The story's getting old.
Yeah, what are you going to do? It's not like an incumbent lost an election. I mean, that. This is how inured we become to the violence. There have been 74 school shootings in just the 18 months since Newtown. 74. You could name every Baskin-Robbins flavor for each one. And not only would you still have plenty left over, you'd be the owner of the world's most depressing ice cream parlor.
Now think about that.
Now, obviously, there's no way.
Think about that. That is sad. That you know, we can't get our politicians to do gun control. We can't get our politicians to do anything. And even the media now, that arm, that constitutional arm that should be there enlightening folks, telling folks, you know, hey, get your, you know, the politicians aren't doing this, is just sitting back, and now they're part of the problem. Another school shooting, but Eric Cantor loses. It's the end of the world.
You know, I love the satire of Michael Moore, and in Bowling for Columbine.
Yes.
Here's this man standing in front of a huge weapon. I mean,
Yes.
it's huge. It's as big as like 3 rooms or something.
Right.
It's bigger than a house behind him. He says, I can't understand why we think we solve problems with like bombs and guns.
It is so sad, you know, but you know what? That's why they're... Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just had one thought. Because back when Ronald Reagan was almost killed, when the guy went into a pawn shop up in Dallas, that really made me think when Hinckley tried to kill him.
Right.
About how close he was to dying and everything at the hospital. I personally wrote a letter to Ted Kennedy because he was on the you know, that he was on that part of the. He was focusing obviously on gun safety.
Right.
And I told him how upset I was that somebody could go into a pawn shop at that time and go buy a gun and then try to kill the President of the United States. That upset me so much that I wrote him a letter, and he wrote me a letter back. Somebody in his staff brought it to his attention, and I got a personalized letter back from Ted Kennedy saying, I really appreciate your interest, and I'm glad that he at least got that habit, the wait period done, because we really needed it back in 1980 at that time, and that really woke me up to gun control at that time.
I mean, a lot of people go into pawn shops, I hate to say this, go into pawn shops, get weapons, and kill themselves.
Yes.
Because there's like no waiting list, no background check. We want you to have this gun if you want it.
That's how it is. It's amazing because most people with guns, they hurt themselves, they hurt their families. They're not likely to help. But Look, folks, for those people that love their guns, I'm not trying to be anti-gun. I'm just trying to be responsible with guns, and I think we need to have responsible policies. John, hold with me, Steve, longer, but let's go with John, a new caller, and let's see what my friend John has to say. Oops, I think we lost. Yeah, no, there's. Yeah, we lost Steve, but there's John. How you doing, John?
What's up, Egberto? Good evening. How you doing?
Great to hear from you, buddy. What's going on? Look, you and I spoke about the Bart win on Saturday. Are you going to give me some more on that, or are we going to talk Iraq? Which one? What's your preference?
Well, I mean, we can talk Iraq if you want to. I mean, you know, we can talk a little bit about the gun situation also with the media and the fact that I don't know if you've heard the story about CNN. There have been 74 different tragedies, shootings in schools.
Yes.
Right. And so some of the right wing actually was just one guy who started a kind of a crusade, and then a couple of organizations got behind him, and basically he tried to make it to where, you know, if it wasn't in a kind of a very close to a Newtown situation, he didn't include those. In other words, if it was a shooting where gangs were shooting each other and people got killed, that didn't count. So he took the 74 and it went down to 14. Yeah. And so, I mean, it just shows you how the media is influenced. And so, I mean, a lot of times I'll give you the opposite argument. So I just want to, in that case, I definitely agree with you. I also want to talk a little bit about, I mean, I want to reference the Bart situation, and I think the reason why, or the Brat situation, and the reason why people thought it was such a big deal, and why I think it was kind of overblown to an extent, but at the same time, it got people talking about the actual House elections coming up, because otherwise, I mean, it's just assumed that Republicans are going to win the House. I mean, I read, all kinds of prognosticators and polls about this, and, nobody is really saying the Democrats are going to retake the House. The only time that was considered was right after the shutdown. And then the kind of right-wing media, was over with, pretty quickly with the problems with the website. But I think also what very few people are talking about in the last month, and there was I know you wrote a piece about this about a month ago about how the Democrats are doing well.
Right.
And that actually was a true statement. But in the last month, things have turned around pretty drastically.
I know that.
And so the Republicans right now, there's a 60% chance of them winning on the uptake, which I think is the best site for predictions about what's going to happen. And so I think the two reasons why that has happened, and these are things that we've talked about in the last month, that if you look at the two biggest stories, there were the VA story, which, of course, I mean, they blame Obama for everything, and that was blamed on Obama, even though the problems are, some problems are decades old, and of course, with all the soldiers coming back from Iraq and coming back from Afghanistan.
You're so right. I have my lines are starting to heat up, so stay with me. I need to run to Ralph, but you're so right about that. We're going to continue with that. Stay with me. Ralph.
Hello. First thing I'd like to offer is that, excuse me, and my apologies and my comments right off the bat.
Okay.
You're both uninformed, illiterate, and not understanding that pawn shops are regulated by BATF, that's the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. You do not walk in and walk out.
Okay.
They are bound just like Carter Country is, just like Academy is, just like everybody else is.
I don't disagree with you.
How long? How long has it been that way? Because I know of two people that did that.
Excuse me, young lady. You are totally and absolutely off the wall and wrong.
I know of two people that did
that way in Texas, and every place around the world. Now, you can walk in and sell one to them, and they don't care where it came from. You can pawn it. That's what the pawn shop is for.
My friend,
you
Ralph,
put it up and get the money.
I think you made your point, but let me just say one thing. Two things. We can all be civil and respectful to each other, like I will continue to be civil and respectful to you. Now, there's one thing, however. I think nobody wants to take anybody's guns, and nobody wants to misinform anybody on guns. But I think what we get happening is misinformation on both sides of the equation sometimes. But mostly, I have to say, to be honest, most of the information usually comes out on the right side because of some innate belief that somebody wants or is coming for your guns. I can tell you something as a left-wing liberal myself. I have no desire to come and take your gun away. What I do have a desire for is to ensure that people and the people that I love, the people that I'm around, are not potentially inflicted by any damage that can occur, like we've seen at these high schools, etc. But look here, buddy, I'm going to have to let you...
Before you turn me loose...
Okay, sure, go ahead.
You're absolutely right.
Yes.
This is where unions come into place, because unions bring out trained personnel. And people who are trained by unions also teach the people they're around about the tools they deal with.
I see the analogy that you're trying to bring.
Weapons, they are tools.
I see the analogy.
Police officer that.
Okay, look, I see the analogy that you'd like to bring there. I mean, that is something that we can debate on a show that I'm going to have on weapons, on guns. And Ralph, listen to me, Ralph, are you with me still?
Yeah, I'm still.
All right, my brother. I want you back when we're talking guns, okay?
Wait. We don't need to talk guns. We need to talk responsibility.
We will do that, my friend. We'll do that. So you have a good one, and thank you for calling, buddy.
And I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you. Have a good night, and blessed be to thee and thine.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one. Hey, Chance, talk to me.
Yes, hello. No, just a few comments. First of all, the gentleman earlier was talking about statistics. Statistics, you know what they say about statistics, right?
Yes.
Statistics and damn lies.
Uh-huh.
So you can twist a statistic. Excuse me, I have trouble with that word a little bit. You can twist one either way you want. A lot of times when the total amount of fatalities are represented by guns, a large portion of those are via suicide. An event just as tragic, which often is included in mass shootings.
Right.
Most times in a mass shooting, that's what ends up with the person who's perpetrating this.
Right.
But that being said, I'm sure nobody, there's quite a few people on KPFT who would regale at the thought of, back in the early part of this country, we had a teetotaler movement, which was completely for the abolition of alcohol.
I remember,
forms,
yes.
And now statistically, if you look, alcohol-related deaths, they take many more lives than firearms.
Yes. Let me just say, Chance, look, remember again, what we're trying to talk about here isn't restricting folks' ability to have weapons or anything like that.
Yes, sir.
That's not it.
Well, I understand that, but my point was about this, more so about the stats.
Yeah, but I wanted to bring that. I was going to segue into that because I think it's important because, I mean, the statistics, you're right that it depends on where these come from, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we have knowledge and we have data. And the one thing that the data does tell you is that if you compare America with Australia, and you see the path that Australia took towards gun control. I know gun control in a lot of places is a dirty word, but I think we have to own up to, if we're going to put some controls on something, that's what it is, gun control.
Yeah, that's a very valid point, but you also have to realize that Australia as a society is a lot different than America. And also,
I agree.
A place like China, where they have mass attacks with people wielding butcher knives and axes, and a place like Glasgow, Scotland, which you would think, being in the UK, it's Glasgow, Scotland, is actually the stabbing capital and maintains one of the highest assault rates of any city.
Right.
Violence is violence. A person who wishes to perpetrate violence will find a means.
No, you're correct. But what I think it's important for us, I wish people could be measured. In other words, if there are things, how was most of these mass shootings, when somebody goes in and starts shooting a whole lot of people, how are they usually stopped? A lot of them are stopped when that guy is going to reload. Is that correct? Do you think that's correct?
If it doesn't get to the point where the person just takes their own life in the middle
right.
of massive horrible deed. It quite sometimes it can be, but for instance, the gentleman who perpetrated the shooting, the gentleman who committed the shooting in the Navy Yard recently.
Right.
That gentleman was armed with a shotgun, a pump 12-gauge shotgun.
Right. He was.
Now, and just think of it this way. I hate to extrapolate into realms of ultra-violence here, but a Molotov cocktail is a very simple weapon to make. It's a glass bottle, gasoline, and a rag. People will find ways to commit horrible acts of violence.
No doubt.
And my advocacy on the our amendment towards weapons doesn't necessarily relegate me to a complete other side. I think the best solution for mass shootings is socialized medicine.
Oh, wow.
It is.
You're going to have to, I'm sorry, I was about to turn you loose, but you're going to have to explain that to me, my brother.
People need readily available mental health facilities.
Okay.
This is a dire need, obviously. If you look at what the events in this country, yes, that is what is needed. These people do not have readily access to psychiatric care. They feel alone, they feel trapped, they feel frustrated, and they go out in a nihilistic blaze of hatred.
Do you know that? I'm sorry, go ahead.
That could be avoided. No, sir, I'm sorry. 90% of that could be avoided if they had someone who they don't have a relationship with that they could just talk to and vent and start to release these things and understand how this is, warping and twisting their being towards this act. Those things don't happen overnight. Those things take years to create.
Okay, look, before I go back to John, I want to ask you something because you and I just spoke about the gun issue. Yes. Tonight is a 3-issue night. Tonight was about the guns. It was also
Iraq, right?
Thank you. So I want to hear your point of view on Iraq.
My point of view on Iraq was the biggest example of the military corporate conflicts that you've ever seen. I would like to pose to anyone who's a person who is ultra in support of that and is on the so-called right side. Imagine if we had taken the resources and the manpower and the lives and efforts sacrificed in Iraq and put that toward a country like Afghanistan and let Iraq sort out its own course, as all the rest of the Arab nations are doing right now. What we could have done is raised one of the poorest, most destitute nations in the earth and given them things like public sanitation and education and basic human needs. We could have done something good in Afghanistan, but we squandered our chance by waving the flag and puffing our chest up and going into, to do that.
You know what's the problem with you, my friend? You're too sensible.
I'm a paradox. I'm an American, sir. A true American. I'm a paradox.
Listen, it's interesting because that is so true, but I want to even get a little bit closer to home. Think about what that could have done to our infrastructure. Think about what could have done to our bullet trains. Think about what that could have done to our supersonic flights. Very good point.
I
mean, when you think about $2 trillion, that would have given us a speed pass to Mars. Think about it.
Yeah, that's great, and and putting it that way, to me, I was taking it only in the limited scope of what we were engaged in at the time.
Right.
And you're right. I mean, nation building should begin at home.
Absolutely. If you're a strong,
without self-love, you can't love anyone else.
If you can, nation building. Absolutely. If you can be strong at home, you are strong enough then to assist. When you're in an airplane, they always tell you to put the mask on yourself first, and then you help the other person. But look, it was a pleasure talking to you, my friend Chance. Please give us a call next week for Politics Done Right again. And don't forget to visit my Facebook page. It's Politics Done Right on Facebook and politicsdoneright.com, the website. Let me bring back John for some closing words here, my friend from Politics Done Right on Coffee Party. Talk to me, my friend.
Yeah, I want to just push back a little bit on first the guy who was talking about the pawn shop. He is correct about the pawn shop, but he's not. But he doesn't talk about the gun show loophole. I mean, you can go into a gun show and they do not have a background check, and that's one of the main things that Manchin Toomey was trying to close.
Right.
And the politicians did not agree to that, though 90% of the people did agree to it. As far as the second caller, what he's saying about saying that guns are just as essentially as much violence can occur if it doesn't have a gun. They'll do a Molotov cocktail, or they're going to kill people with a knife. The statistics just don't bear that out. And his whole thing about saying that statistics don't matter, I mean, that's just I don't know.
I don't think he was saying that, though,
where
John.
he's coming up with that, but it's very anti-science, and all the Romney people kind of looked kind of silly when they had all the skewed polls people,
yeah.
Right? And so. I mean, the fact is, you say you don't want to have people take their guns away. I disagree with you. I don't think that anybody should have an assault rifle.
Okay, you know what? John, I talk to you all the time. I have one last call that I got to take to finish off the show. So I'm going to have to tell you bye, but we'll talk on Saturday. Okay, my friend?
All right, sounds good.
Thank you, buddy. Okay, sir, 1 minute.
Okay.
Make your point. 1 minute, my friend.
Okay. The man that's on the air right now is absolutely wrong. At gun shows, there are two kinds of people.
Okay.
People who are dealers
and
people who are personal individuals who can sell their pieces to any place, anybody, anytime. If you had a car you want to sell, you don't have to comply with a whole lot of things that an auto dealership does. Correct?
Actually, you're correct about that, but I think...
And on the same basis, if you are a personal owner, you don't have to comply with what a gun shop does. By and large, 98% of the people at gun shows are dealers, and they do have to comply with the same things that Academy, Carter Country, and all the rest of the gun shops do.
Okay. I'm gonna take that at face value, my friend, because we have to take off now.
I understand.
But look here, thank you for calling in, and give me a call next week. And folks, thank you very much for being with Politics Done Right. You know, you are the ones who make this show. You are the ones that make things happen. Remember to go to my website, politicsdoneright.com. Remember to reach me on Facebook and like the page. It's Politics Done Right on the Facebook page. Just search for Politics Done Right and you'll get to the show rather quickly. And with that, folks, I want to tell you a hearty good night, and I'll see you next week, Monday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. You can personally reach me by sending an email to egberto@politicsdoneright.com. Remember, Egberto is spelled E-G-B-E-R-T-O. Change starts with you. 90.1 KPFT gives you information not tainted by corporate interest. Please visit kpft.org and contribute. Let's ensure continued access to real information and news remain available to all. Again, thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right.
Join KPFT on June 18th and 19th as your radio station hosts day-long celebrations of Juneteenth's rich blues tradition. Houston has been long renowned for its blues history. A constellation of music legends have graced the airwaves of KPFT and the stages of our city. From 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., KPFT's favorite DJs, special guests, and many more will be on the air to commemorate the holiday with signature Gulf Coast sounds. So mark your calendar on June 18th and 19th for KPFT's all-day Juneteenth blues celebration, only here on Pacifica Radio, 90.1 KPFT, Houston.
Why donate your car to KPFT? You can free up space in your garage. You can avoid the hassles of selling your car. There's no need to pay hefty car repair bills, and you turn the unwanted car into an IRS tax deduction. In addition, you're helping to make the Houston area better with unique arts, music, and culture. You help keep options on the airways. Best of all, making a car donation is easy and always free. Just call 1-855-573-8227 or visit kpft.org to donate your old vehicle to support KPFT. Thank you. This is 90.1 KPFT Houston.